No use for 8K? I completely understand. No reason to get an 8K TV. With the Samsung QN900D, I'm about to give you a reason. Up next.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we look at the Samsung QN900D Neo QLED Mini LED. This is Samsung's true flagship this year. It is not close, in my opinion, to everything else in its lineup, including their QD OLEDs. Has a new processor, upscaling is unbelievable, so even your 4K content, your 1080p content will look fantastic. However, with 8K, it's always about why do we need it? There is no 8K content. That has always been the case. It is the one resolution without a format behind it. However, PC gamers do have a reason. PC gamers will enjoy it. But now, in my humble opinion, 8K gaming at reasonable frame rates does seem far away, and you would be correct. You'll see me enjoy older titles at 8K 60. However, with NVIDIA's DLSS and AMD's FSR, it is possible to have amazing results at 8K 60 on newer titles, which we'll show you within this video. And with having the new processor, even console gamers will benefit from the added detail and the added resolution. Without further ado, let's check out the Samsung QN900D Neo QLED Mini LED true flagship. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. 8K QN900D Neo QLED Mini LED, one of the best TVs in the world right now, 85 inches, upscaling off the charts in all content. Today, we're focusing on gaming. We're going to start off with SDR Gaming Doom 2016 native 8K, no frame generation DLSS here, natively 8K 60 FPS maxed nightmare settings. We could also run Doom Eternal, but I actually like the appearance of Doom 2016 quite a bit more. Now, to game in natively at 8K is a big deal. I've covered 8K since the inception from Samsung with the 900R, 900A, 900B, and 900C. Was never able to really game at 8K, though I have PC gaming videos from other 8K TVs such as the 900R. The GPUs really could not push it. It was no settings, 10 frames per second. You could just sit there paused and look at how clean it is, and even that was mind-blowing. Having something like the 4090 from NVIDIA to be able to actually push native 8K is awesome, especially at 85 inches from about 4 feet away. Now, what sets the 900D apart from the rest of Samsung's lineup is its brand new processor, which is responsible for so much in regards to upscaling other content, movies, streaming, things of that nature. Now, is that same upscaling being used here for gaming? I'd imagine it's not. It doesn't really need it. This is native 8K. The pixels are going to do it on its own. The resolution is responsible for what you're seeing. However, I'd have to think that processor is doing quite a bit in order to do gaming with variable refresh rates working, as well as auto low latency mode and HDR, which is also present at 8K 60. We'll also check out later 4K 240, which I have my own reservations about. We'll cover that at the end of the video, and we'll also follow up with that specific feature set, which is mostly processing based. Now, I also gamed in my previous 900D video on console, and the upscaling was excellent. There was clearly more detail than on 4K sets. So happy to report that the upscaling is doing something in that regard. Here again, it's not needed that we are at native 8K. Gamed for about 3 hours, had no dropouts whatsoever at 8K. I did have some issues at 4K 240. Again, we'll talk about it in that section. It was awesome. We're going to show you some settings in a minute. Special thanks to Value Electronics for supplying the QN900D. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Check the description below for all their information. Let them know that I sent you. I was in the store for a very long time filming this amazing 900D at 8K, 85 inches. Absolute blast. And there's something to be said again about playing 8K at great frame rates, 60 FPS. HDMI 2.1 can handle that without extra processing. Again, the game looks great, and I'll show you in the next demo with Horizon Forbidden West the flexibility of image in regards to the presets and the settings. Now, as we move into Horizon Forbidden West, you're going to see 8K, you're going to see HDR. You're also going to see NVIDIA's DLSS in action. Brand new game. I shouldn't say brand new game. It's a brand new version for PC. Updated of a game that's a few years old, but it's not like it's an easy game to run. Now, most modern titles will have one or the other, DLSS or AMD's FSR. The good thing about FSR from AMD is it's open source, meaning that you can use it if you have an NVIDIA card. Not so the other way if you have AMD, from what I understand. I don't have an AMD graphics card. To go through a game like this, 8K 60, look at the frames counter in the corner. We're not relying on the game bar for our FPS. It is at a lock 60. Showing you the different presets that Samsung offers. They have one of the best game bars in the business. These presets for me are very important. It's something that a lot of other manufacturers lack other than LG. Samsung has 2 custom that you can customize, though you can actually tweak all of them and they can be saved. You can leave the others as they are simply because they are very different from one another. Original is what it sounds like. It's like kind of the most muted, most filmic of all the other presets. What I would suggest is going into original and tweaking it, giving it a little bit more boost, making it look a little less accurate, make it a little more vibrant, but you don't want to go all the way to the other side. But again, it's up to you. Being that we're looking at a mini LED, flexibility of image is very important. Typically with mini LEDs, local dimming can be compromised or even disabled. Dynamic contrast in years past has been removed or grayed out. Happy to report that they are both back. With Samsung, you also have HDR10 Plus gaming. I wish that was actually put next to static and active tone mapping. Having them separate, you can't really enable each one without the other. So if you don't see your active and static tone mapping there, make sure you have HDR10 Plus off. Checking to see if contrast enhancer is enabled, and it is very powerful. We want to make sure that you have that flexibility. Now, many people will scoff at that. Hey, contrast enhancer, I don't want that, it adds lag. Guys, you have to have the flexibility of image. If you don't like it, turn it off. But I like having the ability, especially with an LED. Contrast enhancer sometimes can make it sound like what it is. A little more contrast adds some depth to the image. Changing the tone mapping from static to active. Accurate to very bright is what we're thinking and what we want. We want those to look very different. Sometimes you see with Sony displays, gradation preferred and brightness preferred look very much the same, even with OLEDs. I don't like that. I want to have that flexibility of image. You got to think of games as movies. They do have different approaches. Some you want more cinematic, some you want for pure performance, first-person shooter, something quick. For me, I want them all to look cinematic, but I want that ability to do that. I'm happy to report that the QN900D keeps that flexibility. As you can see, the impact of each setting. You don't want to lose that flexibility coming from an OLED with an infinite contrast. Going to a mini LED shouldn't cost you that contrast. The 900D has very good blacks, and they are here also in gaming. Now, are they going to be as good as OLEDs? No, that is virtually impossible, but it is very, very good. We're also checking the new color booster, which is very much like Sony's live color. Sometimes it looks amazing, sometimes it looks crazy, but it's great to have it. Also want to give a very special shout out to a dear friend of our TV community, Mr. Cosmo, Mrs. Cosmo, their wonderful and beautiful daughters and their adorable grandkids. Sending a lot of love to that family who needs it. One of the best groups of our community. Special shout out to them. Mr. and Mrs. Cosmo actually bought the 900D upon my CES recommendation, which is pretty awesome. I hope they're loving it. They are big fans of their 900D. Much love to them. I'm very impressed with it. AK gaming is awesome. Clean, fast, responsive. Especially with titles that have either DLSS, FSR, or older titles. We're going to move into Resident Evil 4, another well-optimized game with AMD's FSR. Here we are with Resident Evil 4, another older title that's been remade. Came out fantastic. Love, again, the optimization with this game. I was shocked to be able to run it even with FSR on an 8K TV. Pleasantly surprised. Again, 60 FPS locked. Pick out my gun. Now, the reason you don't hear the sounds is typically YouTube will pick up the music, and that can be a trouble. So that's why you're just hearing me and my music in the background. So we're not showing you Doom 3 or Half-Life or games that old. 2016 Doom is pretty old, actually. These are modern titles. Now, you will come across newer games that are badly optimized, meaning even with a 4K TV, you'll struggle even with something as powerful as the 4090. That is not the graphics card. That is lazy developers or poor optimization. That is the worst part about PC gaming in my experience. Is even with the most powerful machine, if the game is poorly optimized, there's very little you can do. Moving into an oldie, one of my favorite games of all time, an absolute joy to play at 8K 60 is Bioshock. The original Bioshock, this is the remaster. But giving you a look, and now what I love also what Samsung is doing, and LG struggles with this, is that even on Windows, when HDR is not supported, sometimes LG will keep HDR on anyway. Samsung easily switches it off. It knows which is which. Some manufacturers struggle with that. Samsung does a great job. Either HDR is there or it is not. It won't brute force it. I don't have it brute forced on either through NVIDIA or Windows. But absolutely amazing to be able to play a game like this at 8K 60. What is interesting though is I wish I could go above 60. But 60 is good enough for being this close with this resolution. It's never been this clean. Now, as far as motion at 8K, it's quite good as long as you're at 60. I think you'd really struggle with the motion resolution at anything under 60. You would need it to be 60, in my opinion, to actually, shocking all them, my favorite parts of the whole game, to make it worth it. I think anything under that, you'd be relying on too much motion blur, and you'd have a hard time with frame pacing. It would be a real struggle. I love to get Digital Foundry's take on this TV and a graphics card like this. God, I miss these games. Moving into Forza Horizon 4, which I do prefer over 5. I did run 5, it runs really well. 4 is incredible and my favorite art style. Now, what I want to show you in Forza Horizon 4 is I didn't even change the resolution. It was changed for me, which was really cool because we have it scaled properly. Boom, it's there, maxed out, ready to rock. This was the best looking game of all the ones I tested, and this is why I'll say that. The art style lends itself to 8K, meaning it looks real. The other games are fantasy based. This game looks freaking real. I had the best time playing it. Now you're going to look up in the screen right now. You'll see a little bit of a line above. You'll see it here. It's like the rear view mirror, but not. There are some scaling issues with this one game. Didn't have time to mess with it and check it out, but I had to show you that at the top of the screen, it looks like it's trying to match up. It's the only game I had an issue with scaling wise. I'm sure I could have figured it out, but I don't want to spend time on it. But I wanted to show you that it can happen. But this was clearly the game to me that looked the most realistic. Moving into another old favorite, Gears 4. This was always my benchmark game for HDR. PC does not have HDR, but this has fond memories for me in about 2016, 2017. Specular highlights, color, motion. Now, what does 8K add? It adds detail, guys. It adds detail to everything. That mixed with the 60 FPS just makes everything look that much more detailed. There's not much more I can say other than detail, detail, detail. There are things you will miss at 4K. Now, it's all about your seating distance. I'm 4.5, 5 feet away from an 85-inch ultra bright mini LED in a bright, well, it's actually getting darker now, you can see. Moving into Alien Isolation, another classic game. Now, what's funny about Alien Isolation is it does have terrible anti-aliasing. No matter what graphics card you have it on, at 4K you will still see some shimmer unless you add mods, meaning you'll still see jaggies and aliasing. At 8K, they are gone. Super important difference, because you can get rid of it at 4K by upscaling or using DSR, super resolutions. You can remove it by playing at 8K. You wouldn't really be at 8K, though. You'd still be using 4K, but having an actual 8K display or monitor removes the jaggies completely. The resolution becomes the best anti-aliasing solution out there. One of the best horror games ever made, Alien Isolation. Just walking around this ship is phenomenal. But again, in 8K. If you guys have gamed on this in console, you're used to shimmering everywhere, jaggies everywhere, even on PC, as I just mentioned. You almost feel like you are looking at the director's intent at 8K. Now, in the past, when I played at 8K, I thought it looked too sterile or too clean. I think that was because I was literally standing still. I couldn't use any motion at all. Again, look in the corner, we are at a locked 60 FPS. Moving over to another classic title, Spec Ops: The Line. One of the most original titles out there. Awesome game. Typical war shooter slash horror elements, psychological elements. Check it out if you have not played it. Best part about PC, guys, is going back to the titles maybe you played on 360 and playing them at full 4K 120, 144, and 8K 60 FPS. One of my favorites, one of my surprise games that I played back in the day that I didn't play on console because the performance was awful, went back on PC and enjoyed it years later. I'll definitely run back and play this one again fully in 8K. Again, those last older titles, Bioshock, Alien Isolation, this one all native 8K, no DLSS involved. I'll tell you when I am using that or FSR. Now, one of the most beautiful games ever made, in my opinion, is The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. This is the Redux version. One of those, detective walking simulators. What I love about this game is it's not easy to run. 4090 runs it very easily. 8K, I was happy to report, even with anti-aliasing maxed, we still got 8K 60. What I will show you in a moment is when you disable anti-aliasing at 4K, those wires will end up with jaggies. That tape, the bars, the railroad, you will see some of that shimmer return. You'll see me disable anti-aliasing down to nothing, and it'll still be clean. Now, the rumor was when 4K first came out, if you were using a 4K monitor at a certain size, you didn't need anti-aliasing. That, to me, has not been proven true. You still need anti-aliasing. I don't care how small the screen is. At least that's been my experience. 8K finally gets you there where anti-aliasing may not be necessary. What's good about that is being able, as we look into the grass here, is being able to enable and disable anti-aliasing, which is so costly, to be able to give you back some performance, making 8K even more realistic for many of you, on PC anyway. You'll be able to lower these settings, especially anti-aliasing, and get that FPS back to something playable. The question for you is 60 FPS enough, which I can't believe I'm saying that. Where 60 FPS 8K is actually here. To make you guys laugh, with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they're reporting they could do 8K. They can't even do 4K, let alone 8K. But definitely an amazing title, Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Check it out. Those lights you see is the reflection behind me on the screen. Another oldie is Tekken 7. I want to do Tekken 7 as I have Tekken 8 on my PS5, which usually accompanies me to the store. I don't bring a large PC with me everywhere, so we're going to settle with Tekken 7, which again runs at 60 FPS. Looks great, looks clean, and remember at 85 inches, these characters are massive. Now you can tell I've been there for a while, as when I started the video, it was actually light out and you could see the stand. It's gone now, so it's actually darker in the room. You can see the lights behind the TV from Value Electronics. Runs great, looks great, very happy with it. Now the first game that actually gave me trouble was Sekiro. Gorgeous game, another one that at 60 I would have to drop the settings. So again, not poorly optimized, well, it might be poorly optimized, but it was a game that 8K did not want to play nicely with. So some of you would be disappointed to say, hey, my favorite game, let me go back and play it. Now obviously the timing with a game like this is super important, so you would need it to be very, very clean. Now we're going to move into 4K 240. You see the resolution's wreaking havoc on my camera. It's there to enjoy. It's automatic. It's not, again, a custom resolution. What I wanted to say is that it is software based more than anything. Now you saw in the NVIDIA control panel, I rather if there was a 144. All I saw was, 120 and, 240. I'd much rather have a 144 instead of a 240 because we're clearly process based here. Now what's interesting though is you're seeing me running at 4K 244. It feels that way, but looking over at the benchmarking in the corner, you're seeing me at 76, 80, random frame rates. It drops as low as 30 in the corner. It doesn't feel that way playing it, but it was bothering me. I don't want to just go by the game bar. My guess is we're doing this all through processing. My PC had to be restarted several times after this to make it understand that I don't know what was happening with it. It was definitely confusing my PC. Now I will test this if I get a sample of the 900D or even 800D. I will definitely look into this. I much rather have 4K 144, call it a day, or 8K 60. To me, 240 with just processing isn't really 240 anyway, in my opinion. It runs really well, but for me, not necessary, but I will look into it further my next time, either there or when I get a sample of the 900D and 800D. I'm scheduled to get samples of both. Now there isn't much interest in 8K. These videos don't do well in terms of views, but I want to be able to bring this to you guys. Also, 8K TVs tend to get better throughout the year. The updates actually help them. That's happened since the 900R. So I will be staying on top of this TV all year long. This is their true flagship, the best TV they have. I also love the S95D, which I've discussed and we'll talk about even more. But with this processor, the 900D 8K is the TV to get from Samsung. I'll be checking out the QN900D in a few weeks. I'm not sure if that has a new processor. I'm fairly certain it does not. So there is a clear delineation this year from their 8K model to their flagship 4K. Times of the past, the flagship 4K sometimes outperforms the 8K due to the screen and peak brightness limitations of that pixel density. So in closing, absolutely love my time gaming on the 900D in native 8K. 240 something I'll leave on the table till next time, but I can easily recommend the 8K 900D all around as being Samsung's best option. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Please consider liking and subscribing. Love you guys. Take care.